Between the two Batman serials, when you try to weigh in on which is better by the numbers, you'll get dizzy. Welcome to my channel, KC, that's me, Carrie Tug, the Sledge Storyteller, here to talk about the wonderful world of storytelling and to open up discussion about how we can tell the best stories we can. Here, referencing movies. The good, the bad, and admittedly, in talking about movie serials, there's plenty of bad, and there's only a certain relative term of serial movie good. But, we're going to talk about the 1949 serial Batman and Robin, a brief description of movie serials from the 30s going into the early 50s. Movie studios, along with their feature films, made movies that were segmented into weekly 20 to 30 minute episodes, each ending in a cliffhanger to spur viewers to come back for next week's episode, ultimately ending with a final episode where you have the hero's final victory. So let's place ourselves in 1949, 6 years after the first Batman movie serial and 1 year after the first Superman serial. Columbia decided to take another crack at Batman and name it Batman and Robin, arguably better than the 1997 movie of that same title, though I wouldn't be too surprised if someone had to disagree, depending on your angle. I once had this on VHS, but gave it to a thrift store to free up shelf space, since it's readily available on Roku. But if you buy the DVD, you get another misleading cover image. If you watch these serials in succession and have educated yourself on Batman history, you pick up a little on how the evolution of the mythos in the comics shaped things from the first serial to the second. The tone, the setup, Batman's demeanor, and Alfred's demeanor, they've all changed, and you notice that being the difference during these 6 years. Admittedly, comparisons between the two serials are inevitable. So, Batman. Here he's portrayed by Robert Lowry, whereas Lewis Wilson's Batman put more emphasis on being the tough guy. Robert Lowry's Batman shifted more toward being methodical. His Batman dialogue doesn't get tough until one moment in the very last episode.
Can't do that? Oh, yes you can. All right.
At least for me, he doesn't look as much like Bruce Wayne as does Wilson, but he's got the dark hair and square jaw, so more than passable. The Playboy angle is there, but not quite as flaky as Wilson was. But even before looking at their respective filmographies, I felt Lowry was the better actor. Unlike when with Wilson, he has frequently and randomly popped up on TV I've watched. One notable example, an episode of the George Reeves Superman series, and as a John Wayne fan, I was jolted to see him on McClintock playing Governor Humphrey Cuthbert, and an antagonist. Every biography I've read about Lowry said that he had a boxing background, and I think that factors into the fight scenes being better this time around. There are some sequences that you see get repeated over and over, but Lowry does look like he knows what he's doing. Like Wilson, Lowry does his best to be convincing while wearing a less than convincing Batman suit. The cowl looks as though they weren't trying as hard to be accurate as they were in the first, but managed to give us something less flimsy. Dare I say that while this looks better than this, just look at the worst here for the first Batsuit and the worst here for the second Batsuit. Overall, we get a principled, practical, and self-assured Batman and Bruce Wayne still. By serial standards, Robin, played by John Duncan, must have been an answer to a possible public outcry to the first serial showing a juvenile Robin putting himself in harm's way. Just a speculation over the fact that Duncan here was 24 or 25 when this was made. He serves much the same purpose as Douglas Croft did, as someone who can receive exposition from Batman so that it can feel less like heavy exposition. I say that because it does at times get very exposition heavy.
Vicki. You better be careful. I think she's beginning to get wise that Batman and Bruce Wayne are the same.
Well, if she gets too close, we know how to throw her off the track.
He is fairly stilted in his dialogue with never any fluctuation in his voice. In action, he's convincingly skilled and clever. Then the serial wants you to think too hard on the name Boy Wonder, when the obviously 20-ish Robin plays with a toy truck just so he can be distracted and get knocked out by the villain turned invisible. More on him in a bit. Overall, an okay Robin, on par for the serial course. But now the villain, the Wizard. Funny how in these serials they don't use Batman's villains in the comics and come up with their own. At least this time the portrayal of this villain doesn't dip into racism as did Dr. Daka in the first. Played by the frequent TV villain actor Leonard Penn, he plays a very despicable, albeit one-dimensional villain here. The whole mystery man angle is played up fairly entertainingly, when even his cronies don't even know his identity. The serial does bring intrigue into the Wizard by giving use of the shifty-eyed Professor Hamill, who's wheelchair-bound in public but mysteriously revives himself just before you see the Wizard walk into his lair, which is a little more high-tech than the Batcave, after he gets his hands on the Professor's invention, a remote control device that can be used to gain control over any vehicle he wants. Here you're left wondering why he holds back and does not wreak all the havoc that he could with that much power. If you watch my storytelling pet peeves video, you understand why I mentioned that. I myself was satisfied enough with the big reveal at the end, so a fairly enjoyable, if not amusing, villain. So, Lyle Talbot, first ever live-action Commissioner Gordon. Like Lowry, Talbot got steady work in small and TV movie roles throughout his career. In the second Superman serial, he plays Luthor, the most curious of them all, the infamously so bad it's good Plan 9 from Outer Space, where he plays General Roberts.
You realize there's a government directive stating that there is no such thing as a flying saucer? Yes.
He does play the commish with dignity, just nothing special. Move on to Vicki Vale. So yes, Kim Basinger wasn't the first one to play this part. It was Jane Addams. On the good guy's side, hers is probably the best performance in terms of emotional fluctuation. Vicki Vale was created for the comics back in 1948. Here she is the Lois Lane type, with a go-getter drive as a photojournalist, and plays the disapproving love interest to Bruce Wayne, the nosy reporter to Batman, the concerned sister to her brother Jimmy when she finds out that he's in cahoots with the Wizard, and the willing assistant to fight against the Wizard, whose breakthrough makes all the difference toward the end. So yeah, you have to appreciate that. She's not just the damsel in distress, she's very much involved with being also a hero and an agent for the story's resolution. Then there's production value. The Batmobile, the first serial, had both Batman and Bruce Wayne driving the same black Cadillac, where the only change you see when Batman drives it is to close the canopy. Same thing happens here, only they downgrade to an unimpressive Mercury convertible, but I will say it has better car chases. Wayne Manor, look at 1943's Wayne Manor exterior. Now watch 1949's. Actually, no, that's Professor Hamill's mansion. Here's what's supposed to be Wayne Manor. I remember first seeing this and thinking about how it's more like the Leave It to Beaver house. I mean, if there wasn't enough budget to use another mansion like Hamill's, maybe they could have just shot it from the opposite side to say that's Wayne Manor. And also, there's the same apparent issue of the production crew settling on first takes. But in the end, while the first was darker, had more coherent plot, a tougher talking Batman, a more talented villain actor, somehow I'm won over by the second serial more so. I'll say it has a better Batman actor, a solid Commissioner Gordon, better fight scenes, and a solid mystery man to pin down. You can have reason to hate both of them, but here, when you're not meant to take it seriously, watching it as an adult, I'll have it as that kind of guilty pleasure. So that's my take on the 1949 Batman serial, Batman and Robin. Thank you for watching. Agree, disagree, something I left out, please let me know in the comment section. If you like this video, please click like. If you like this channel, please click subscribe or follow me on Instagram. A link to order Sledge number 1 and Sledge number 2 is below in the description through indieplanet.com. They're available on both formats of paper and digital. You can order Sledge number 1 also on Kindle in both formats. But let's all look for civility amid all the bad news out there about social and political strife, as well as the pandemic, and follow precautions that have been given to us. Everyone, thanks for watching, and God bless.